Hey guys, what's up? Nate here from Protoculture and Shadow Chronicles, and welcome to this tutorial on how to use Unfiltered Audio's Triad. So Triad is a plugin that's built on top of Byome, which is a rather excellent modular effects plugin. We have covered Byome before in detail, so in this tutorial we're not going to be looking at the individual modules as such, but Triad does introduce a whole bunch of new features that really elevates Byome to the next level. So let's dive in, we'll take a look at the UI, go over the controls, and then process some audio with the new plugin. Let's check it out. Cheers. Okay, so let's dive in and check out the UI. We're going to run through all the controls and then process some audio with this and see what we can do. First things first, we've got this whole section here which is all pretty new. If you click on the little Byome tag down there, you'll open up the rest of the plugin. So the modulation section is going to look pretty familiar. Nothing much has changed here, aside from one or two new modulation sources that they've added in. This is going to be familiar as well. These are the biomes. So you've in fact got 3 biomes that run concurrently in different modes, which we're going to come to in a sec. High, mid, low currently, but we'll come back to this shortly. So let's just take a look from the start to finish, from mostly just on this top section here. We're going to look at the multiband section in just a sec. Up top here we've got our options. There's one option here which you might want to check out, this true Byome bypass. This basically just is when you bypassing modules, it actually bypasses the gain of the modules as well. But we can leave that set to default for now. You have your plugin management, save, open. You can load your presets from here. And you can also open Byome presets with this as well. So the entire Byome preset library is included with this, as well as all the new Triad specific presets as well. This is the randomize button. If you click on this, right click on this first, and you'll have a selection menu here. You can have everything randomized. You can then disable certain ones as well, have just effect row 3 randomize, for example, or maybe just the modulation, etc., etc. This does kind of require you to set up some stuff first. It won't randomize by adding in random modules. You'll have to have your modules loaded, and then you can go and randomize these settings for those. Right, so let's just look at the input stage here. You've got an input gain, then same as Byome, you've got a sample rate. Now this sample rate here is more than just a bit crusher. It actually affects the buffers and stuff as well for delays and reverbs. So it's a global sample rate setting that's applied across all the modules and input and output stages. Then this section here is basically where all the magic's happening. So what they've done now is they've basically built this plugin on top of 3 instances of Byome that can be used in various different ways. So the default way that we have currently is the multiband setup. You can see we have a low, mid, and high bands. If we look over here, we've got the various different slopes that we can select. So you can have a steeper slope. That basically refers to the cutoff points that you have here. You can have a 72 dB filter or 12 if you're less obvious sounding or less resonant crossovers. Now the unity gain or the unity button here is a really nice little feature. I've got some audio from Anna playing over here, just a arpeggiated loop. Let's take a look at this. So if you enable the unity, when you are editing the volumes of your multiband sections, it'll actually keep the overall volume exactly the same. So by raising the mid, for example, you'll see you have this at 38%. The lows and highs will be reduced as you push this up. So we can take a listen to that quickly. So let's turn this off, for example. So you can hear having Unity on, it's actually boosting the lows and highs a little bit to make up for that lost volume that we have there. Then in this section, this is basically just a readout of what you have in this section here. These crossover points can be moved around, and obviously the volume up and down as well. You'll see that you have inputs here as well, so you can actually assign LFOs or modulation sources to the volume, for example. And that will dynamically change if you have the Unity enabled. It will dynamically change the volume of the mids and the highs as well. Like that. Then we can also look at the frequency as well. That can also be modulated. So if we just go and stick in a modulation source, you'll see the frequency will actually modulate up and down as well. So plenty of options that you have there. Now I want to just take a look at the Spectral Snap, which is a really interesting little addition that they've put in here. Let's just go and reset our preset. So when you have audio running through Byome, you can use the instant spectral snap to basically, it attempts to divide the signal into thirds, basically to grab an even amount of power in each section of the spectrum. So you can check if we use the instant now while it's playing. So there's a lot of power happening down here, a lot of power down here, and then it's kind of balancing it out with less up here. So it will automatically set your crossovers to kind of compensate for that. What is interesting though is we have a filter sweep happening now with this Anna synth playing there. So if we turn this to dynamic mode, the Spectral Snap, if we turn that up, this is basically going to dynamically adjust the crossover points that we have here according to the input signal. So you'll see at its highest setting it's going to be more sensitive, a little bit lower it'll be a little less sensitive. We'll leave it there for now and let's just take a listen and see where the crossovers go as we play the audio through it. So you can see it actually, as the filter brightens up, it gradually increases the mid-range as well. So you can get some really interesting effects by applying effects now just to this mid-band, for example, and then dynamically snapping it to whatever info you're putting in. So any sort of dynamic sound, you can get a lot of real cool movement happening with your effects on that. Okay, so let's just take a look at the other section here. We've got a mix dial. This is basically the master dry-wet signal for this, and then an output gain. Both have modulation sources as well. And then we have the really interesting little mode selection here, and there's some really, really cool stuff that you can do with this. So we've got the 3-band multiband, which in itself is a great feature to have when it comes to actually inserting your modules. But we have a couple of different modes. We've got 6 in total. 3-band, we've got a 2-band mode. So that'll just be a high and a low. You'll see you still have 3 down here, but if you see on the right, on the left-hand side, you've got a high, a low, and then you've got a post. So you still have 3 biomes running. The signal will be split into high and low, and then both of these signals will be run into the post signal, and then that goes to the mix dial and the output gain. Then we also have a 3x parallel processing. So what this does is it sends a dry signal that you have coming in here to 3 different instances of Byome, and then they are mixed back together. So you have 3 parallel instances of your effects chains running at the same time, and you can then blend them with different volumes, like so. Obviously the Spectral Snap does not apply here since we're not splitting the spectrum up at all. We're just parallel processing, but the unity gain will function the same as well, so it'll always balance out your signal. And these can obviously all be modulated, so you can have one effects chain sort of blending into another one over here and sweeping through various different modules that you have set up, which we're going to come to just now when we kind of do some practical stuff as well. Then we have 2x parallel, pretty much the same thing. And then we also have a left and right mode, which is self-explanatory, and a mid-side mode as well, which is super handy, as you can now basically split it into mid-side. We've seen this before in a lot of plugin alliance plugins. But the interesting thing here now is that you can actually apply effects chains separately to just the side and then separately to just the mids, which is really cool. You can have a reverb, for example, just on the sides. and maybe something else just on the mids. They're completely independent of one another. And then obviously again, yeah, you can see you've got a post section as well. So these two then get blended into the post one and then back into the outputs over there. So first things first, let's try a couple of different things. Let's whack this into mid-side mode and try and add a bit of life to this lead that we have playing. So first things first, what I'm going to do here is we'll just disable the post. And also, yeah, you've got a global bypass for each of your bands as well. So if you want to disable and solo stuff, you can do that. And then these little arrows will minimize your modules globally. Just much in the same way that the original Byome did as well. So let's, for example, on these sides, we're going to go grab a reverb. We'll grab the lo-fi reverb and take a listen. So let's mute the mids first. Actually, that's not muting the mids, but we can change the balance of those. Let's just take a listen first. So we've got a very stereo reverb happening now as that's being applied only to the sides. We can turn on our Unity and we can kind of get a balance between the mid and the sides as well. In this case, we'll leave them kind of balanced out like that. Now, for example, we can go and do something, maybe add a little bit of sort of filter modulation to the mid signal only. Let's grab a basic filter. We'll switch it on to band pass. Let's dial in a little bit of modulation here with just an LFO. And we'll have that set to make sure that this is set to sync. Just like in Byome, you can sync your modulators, reverse the polarity as well. And yeah. This is all pretty much the same as Byome or any of the unfiltered audio plugins that I have covered in the past year. Okay, let's take a listen to that now. We'll dial back on the mix a little bit. And maybe brighten up the reverb. And since we've got our Unity turned on as well, all these changes that we're making, everything's staying exactly in balance as well. It's not blowing anything out. You can see I'm doing quite big changes to the EQ there. And it's all still balanced. If we turn off the Unity, back on, it will keep it balanced again. Okay, so there you have it. That's processing mid-side. Got some interesting movement going on there. Really nice big stereo reverb happening. Let's go and zero this again and look at another example. We'll reset the defaults. This time I'm going to grab the parallel processor and let's do something interesting with the delays. So we're going to turn off the post again. We're going to process the post. I want to grab a delay for the second parallel processor. This one will grab an instant delay. And this one we will grab a reverse delay. And let's just set these two up first. So yeah, we can basically mix between one and the other by turning on the Unity again. We'll turn up one. So now we're just getting our reverse delay. Do that slightly longer. Cool, so we've got a reverse delay happening there, and let's set up just bring this one down now, so we're just getting the instant delay. We'll unlink these ones so we can get a stereo delay. We'll do dotted eighth notes on this one. And let's try something interesting now. We'll add some modulation to this again. So we're just going to use a sine LFO once again. This time we're going to add the modulation to the volume of the parallel processor. So let's just bring this back up to the midpoint. And we're going to max out the amp on the sine LFO. So we're going to be taking away and then adding in the reverse delays with this LFO. Let's slow that one down slightly. Take a listen to the result. And sorry, turn our reverse delay back on again. So there we've got a really interesting effect now where it's kind of blending between reverse and standard delays, and it just kind of morphs between the two of them, which is a really cool way to use the parallel processing on this. And then the last example, let's take a look at doing something with the multiband section as well. So we're going to reset this to defaults again. And now we're going to be using all three of the Byome things. And you can see here they are all high, mids, and lows. So we don't have the post anymore. These apply to each band. You can also rearrange these as well. So if you kind of experimenting a little bit with different setups, if you want to kind of, we'll come to, let's just set up a few different things here. Let's first crunch the top end a little bit. We'll grab a different distortion for this. Let's go and grab the dent rectify possibly, or you can just use these to switch through the distortions. Okay, I really want to crunch that top end, but I don't want to have all that volume happening there, so we're just going to do the unity again. So we've got a nice little bit of crisp top end there now. Let's maybe, we can add a little bit of distortion to the bottom as well. But let's also roll off some of the low end. We'll grab a 3-band EQ, for example. We can cut the lows off slightly. And let's maybe, we're going to do with the low end. Let's add a bit of compression to the low end as well. I'm just kind of going through this and playing around and see what we can do. The attack short, a little bit longer. And adding a bit of makeup as well. And let's maybe do some interesting stuff on the mid-range now as well. For instance, let's check out the mixing, for example. Let's take a panner here. And we'll assign an LFO to the panning. So now we have a little bit of auto panning going on just on the mid-range. And we'll maybe add delay to this as well. Let's try the glitch shift. Let's see what happens if we modulate those as well. The glitch is basically a pitch shift. And now we can adjust these as well. Obviously those can be modulated as well. That pitch shift is a little bit much for me, so let's you want to just grab that little highlighted part to remove any connections. You'll see it's a thin line and there's got a little thicker bit there. If you just click and hold on that, you can move that off. So there you have it. That's basically how it functions, and it's just a never-ending joy, this plugin. I mean, there's so many options and so many things that you can do. But yeah, I mean, I highly recommend this one. I would definitely go check this out. Fantastic little plugin from Unfiltered Audio and Plugin Alliance. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll catch you guys again soon. Cheers.
Thanks everybody for watching, commenting and indeed liking. We really do appreciate all the support we get here on our Sonic Academy YouTube channel. So if you found this video super useful, please, we'd love you to hit the subscribe button. We update the YouTube channel every week with new content. And if you want to watch some more relevant content, just click on the videos beside me.